Welcome to the Be You, Your Story, Your Purpose podcast. Today, we have Emily Stovall on the podcast today. Emily is an intuitive healer, and I have known Emily for maybe 2 years, and I have watched her start her business and watched it grow. And I've just been so impressed with her and wanted to share her light and her energy with everybody who is listening and watching to the podcast. Emily, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to share with us a little bit about who you are and what you do. Would you take a few minutes and just introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes, thanks for having me. I am a mother of five and I live in the Utah Valley. And so I'm middle-aged. So this program is perfect for me. About 4 years ago, I kind of was at the end of my rope, and thankfully I found a new one. And it has significantly blessed my life. And now it's my goal to just help others do the same thing.
That is so fantastic. I am wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your story. How did you become an intuitive healer? What does that mean? And what is intuitive healing?
Yes, absolutely. So intuitive healing for me is kind of a short track to healing. I was depressed and anxious for over 20 years, in and out of counseling, all sorts of different medications. I've even lost my sense of smell to a medication. And that was kind of a thing of like, that's not going to work for me. I can't have stuff leaving me when I'm already like struggling.
Right.
And I had met with a counselor, and she had said something to me about that I'd never heard before. I was telling her, I have everything I've ever dreamed of, and I am so miserable, I'd rather be dead. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Wow.
And she was, well, what would you think if you were carrying an ancestral load? And I was like, I don't know what you mean. And she goes, well, what if you were carrying like trauma from your ancestors in your space and it's causing you to feel this depression? And I was like, this girl's crazy. I don't know why I'm paying her. And she goes, just humor me. And she goes, think of a number right now. What percentage are you carrying right now that's from your ancestors? And the number that hit my head was 87%. And I was like,
holy smokes. That's interesting.
Yeah. And it never crossed my mind to think of anything like that before. I'm just like, I'm trying to make good choices. I'm trying to be a good person. I'm doing everything I can to be, good in society. And I can't get anything right. I'm still depressed. I'm still anxious. I still hate my life. And so when that came up, I was just kind of like, I'm going to look a little bit more into that. And we did some visualizations together, which is intuitive healing. It's just mind over body. And I asked God, he says we can be healed. I'm a faith-based healer. It doesn't matter if you believe the same as I do. It still works. And I can change my vocab. But if that promise is true, then it's true for me, because we're all from him. So I can be healed. And so I just started asking different questions. What is a resource that will help me figure out my next step? And the answers started coming. And I started being attracted to all of these intuitive healers like Carol Tuttle, Ali Duzette, Bradley Nelson, Nicole Vincent, like all of these people, Kelly K. Walker, that's our mutual.
Yes.
And I just kind of learned little on little. And then I just worked on healing myself. And within 2 years, I had quit my job at Walmart because I knew I had to get out of the house so I wouldn't die. So I worked, which was a very little step above being at home, and good people. And then I went back to school. I got my teaching degree. I started teaching because at the same time, my marriage was falling apart. Everything falls apart at once,
Yeah, when it rains, it storms, right?
I've got to support my family. So I started changing a lot more than I had planned on changing. But so I was out of the house more. I was learning, I was growing. I was doing things I hadn't done before that were hard and challenging. And then I was doing something super rewarding. I taught special ed for 4 years, and it was super rewarding. And as I was healing, there was a program offered on Intuition Accelerator. And that helped me learn how to do an intuitive healing business. And
What was
then
the program called again?
called Intuition Accelerator. It's an Ali program.
Okay. All right.
It's like a coaching program. And it just changed my life. It opens you up. You learn a lot about the spiritual side of things. You learn about morphic fields. You learn about the principles of 100 monkeys, and you learn about Kundalini, and you learn about just connections. It's very simple and it's all recorded. So there's like no time requirement. You can do it when you want.
Right.
But anyway, I did that, and and then it talks about business. And so I'm like, oh, okay. Because at first I just wanted to heal my family and myself.
Right.
And then you learn that's not your job. Your job is to heal
Right.
yourself and let everybody else have their own journey. And that's probably the hardest step, because you're like, I can fix that right now.
If they would just do what I say,
Yeah.
right? I totally know. Yes.
So simple. But anyway, and then I've had my business going, I think this is my second full year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of taken off, and it's been super, super fun.
Yeah, I think I met you when you had just barely stopped teaching and you were so excited to be able to take that leap. So my mind is like, oh, I don't know that. So many of the things that you just said, I'm like, okay, what else can I learn? That's so fascinating. I love it so much. And what I really love too is just seeing the light that you have and the joy that you have. It just comes out of you in spades. So I really, really love it. So in that journey, what was a pivotal moment for you that led you like that just turned you there, to where you are now?
So I'm not sure I'm going to answer this correctly, but the most pivotal moment of just where I decided to live was I had been praying and for like a year, Heavenly Father, just take me. I'm done. Just take me.
Wow.
And I'm ready to die. And then I didn't die. And I'm like, it was kind of like Groundhog Day. I'm like, okay, I'm still here. There must be something else I need to do. And it's got to be better than this. And,
Wow.
and that's when I started looking at things I normally wouldn't look at. Like Western medicine was all I did. And I was slowly dying. I was almost 300 pounds. I was severely depressed. And even though I was actively working on all of these things, I wasn't getting better. And so it turned me to new ways of thinking.
Wow. I've been in that position before where you just wake up and go, okay, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something that I am here for. Right. And so that's, you get to that point, especially like this was when I was in deep depression, and I just was like it really was a pivotal moment for me. So, well, I'm glad you're here. Yay. And
it's worth it. Yeah. It's good.
Right.
It is worth it.
So grateful.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me what does it look like? Run me through, because I think being an intuitive scribe is something that's new to most people, and even intuitive healing, just that vocabulary is a little bit different. It's not like the norm. So this is why I love what you do, because I'm all about, oh, what can I learn and how can I apply it and how can I share it with other people? So walk us through the process of, working with your clients. Like take us through what that looks like.
Absolutely. So I have two different programs. One is affordable to the masses because everybody can use this work. And I feel like once you've done a session with me, you have a guideline of to do it for yourself or anything else. Personal opinion, but let me rewind just a little bit. An intuitive scribe, I just receive information through writing. So if I want to talk to spirit, I write questions down, and then I skip a line, and then I write what I feel the answer is, and I just channel that way. Other people do it just through feeling. Other people can literally see with their physical eyes, hear with their physical ears. I can't. It's all just knowing through my mind and comes out on paper. So it's not like I don't know how I want to say. I think it is special, but it's just the way I receive the information.
Right.
And so when I have clients, I have a website, and there are group sessions on there that you can buy. They're already written, already recorded, because it's in line with myself They're a lot related to physical health, like insulin resistance, inflammation, blood pressure, lymphatic system, stuff like that. And they all have an energetic side of like self-worth, breaking through blocks, all those sorts of things that will help you. And you just buy a session online and it's immediately in your account on my website. And I also have like 4 or 5 free sessions in there. So you can try it out before you buy it and see what you think. And all of the ones that are for sale have an audio file because you can listen while you're doing laundry. You can listen while you exercise. You can listen while you're driving. It doesn't have to be 100% focused because it's working with your subconscious. If you have 100% focus, great. But most moms in the middle age, we don't have any time.
Right. So is it more like a meditation when you're listening to it?
You're just listening to it. You're breathing, you're tapping, you're allowing your subconscious to process the images. I do a lot of guided imagery.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very easily done and it doesn't have to take the 100% focus.
Right.
Like you're in a college class where you're like trying to write everything down. You don't have to do that. You may need to repeat it a couple of times because we have a lot of limiting beliefs and blocks, and it'll help you break through those as you go through it.
Okay. Is that the main purpose of the group one because that's the group one, right? Where it's more of a general letting go of things so that you can channel your energy elsewhere?
Yes. Well, it's more of if it's like a medical intuition where I work on a specific disease or illness. And so if you're struggling with that, you'll go through there and see which ones you need. So I'm currently working on a gut health one. I cannot wait. It's related to imposter syndrome, but it's not done yet because I have a lot of blocks towards that.
So that's super interesting. I love that so much. So I'm curious, when you're working, when you do have clients working directly with you, what does that look like then?
Yes. Okay. So I do one-on-one coaching that's actually also remote. So it doesn't take any time out of your schedule. I haven't named it yet even, but it's coming out in November where I'll work with a one-on-one person for 3 months. And I work with powerful women who are ready to, stop denying who they truly are and magnify their spiritual gifts. So it's like just a massive deep dive healing experience. And where I was able to heal, I feel like I healed myself in 2 years with all of the resources I was given. I feel like I can make a big dent in healing within 3 months. And so I'm so excited. It's my favorite.
That's awesome. So I just want to repeat the process then. So you have a client that signs up with you, and then you said it's 100% remote and doesn't take time. Does that mean you meet with your clients at all just to kind of get a feel for what they're going through? And then you're getting these downloads on the side and sending them to them. Is that how that works?
Well, it'll be kind of like a Google form, and it'll be very exclusive because I don't have all the time in the world, which I wish I did. But I'll be doing I'll be adding 2 a month. So it'll not be like, everybody come join this program, because that's not what it's for. But it is for those who are just ready to just smash it out of the park. If they're struggling with their family, if they're struggling with their business, if they're struggling with their identity and figuring out who they want to be, this is for them. And so it'll be a back and forth. And I haven't solidified that, but it'll probably be a Google form.
Mm-hmm.
Where I work, I just need headlines, like give me 2 sentences of what we want to work with, and then I get all the rest.
Wow.
And that came from 20 years of telling everybody my story over and over and over again. I don't need the story. Because I don't see your life. It's not like, oh, she's terrible, or, oh, well,
right.
I don't see anything like that. All I see is I look for curses. I look for beliefs. I look for contracts. I look for anything like energetic weapons, blocks, fail safes, anything that is like currently holding you prisoner where you are right now. And with God, we remove those.
Okay. So you did this to me after I first met you, and I just thought it was so amazing. So will you go over, I think everybody knows what a limiting belief is. Will you explain like what a curse and a contract is?
Yes. So a curse is just targeted negative energy. And I tell everybody it's as awful as you believe it is. So don't believe it's awful. It's like just targeted negative energy. Just dust it off of your shoulder and give it to the angels and up to God. But they are real and they cause a lot of problems. And we're like, this keeps happening. This keeps happening. And I'll be like, all right, well, we'll just check out, where is it in your body? And I don't dig for details on that either. Like, I'm not going to give you Becky's name or, the year it happened, but I can say, it's been in your right side for like 12 years, and it's about your hip joint. And usually they'll be like, oh my gosh, I've had issues with my hip for so long. And then we just have angels come help and remove that and heal it, and it heals.
That's amazing. Okay, how about a contract? That was a curse. How about a contract?
So contracts are things. This is kind of a religious based belief. So this may be new to some of us, but before we came to earth, we were spirits, is my belief. And as spirits, we were angels to other humans on earth. Like, we were guardian angels. It was all part of our training before we came to earth. And so we've had all these experiences that we're not consciously aware of now in this life. But before, we're like, oh, it's kind of like the game of life. I want to experience being fat. I want to experience depression. I want to experience a death in the family. Like, nothing anybody would ever want. But because we were spirit and we had no idea, we're like, yeah, I maybe want to prove to God that I can live through that.
Wow.
And it's crazy. And we all have so many contracts that we can rewrite, but they have to be identified and rewritten and deleted so that they can be rewritten. But contracts are a little bit more serious than a belief, because beliefs we can shift with like affirmations and tapping really easily. But with the contracts, they need to be identified, deleted, and then put in a new one that's not a contract, but put in a new belief that'll support you and shift with you.
My mind is just kind of blowing away, right? Because I mean, you think about all the things that we experience, and then you go, okay, so what is that? It's like destiny versus accountability, your choices, right? So how does that work?
I don't know. How does that work for you? So, and it would depend on your beliefs. If you believe in the universe, then that would be like the universal laws of how it comes and goes. I'm not 100% sure, because I believe in a specific system of God and agency and being able to make choices. And so for me, that's what that looks like. Let me think for a sec. I'll try and make it fast what that would be. But blaming everything on like destiny is kind of giving up your power. And that's what I find that all of us in this age group have done. It's like, I've taken care of the kids. I've let myself go so that everybody else can be happy and thrive. I've decided not to tell you why I'm mad, because it just causes an argument. And, we just kind of keep giving our power away, and we shrink and we shrink, and we get depressed and we get resentful and maybe a little angry. And that's what happens when you give your power away. When you stop being the victim and say, all right, I'm in charge now. I'm going to step back into my power and be like, here's a boundary. Here's a boundary. That doesn't work for me anymore. Here's a boundary. Then the energy returns and you come back to life, and you can be you.
Wow. That's super interesting. So when you are getting a download, let's say somebody is saying, I've got money issues, right? Mm-hmm. That's super common. So many of us, especially, in the economy the way it is. So when you get somebody who says, I have money issues, I have a problem with, whatever, mm-hmm. And then you get a download. So what did those downloads look like?
So it's basically, it's awful, but it's just what I've been saying. It can go in a different, every session is completely different, but they all have the same things in them. So if they said they were having problems with money, could we use like a real example? Do you have something you'd be comfortable working on right now? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's totally good. I love this. Let me see. Yeah, so let me see what I want. I mean, really, there's so many, right?
I'm still the same way. Yep.
Right. Okay, so let's do health. So I feel like I've really tried, like, my physical health. I've really tried to make an effort to be more physically healthy. And there are times I just feel like I cannot get to the body shape that I want. And again, I know this is super common, right? But it's also something that I deal with too, and so I I will often catch myself thinking, well, it's okay to just be overweight. And then I'm like, no, that's not what I want. I want to be healthy because my goal in life is to be a vibrant, active senior citizen, right? And I know that if I don't do things right now, then that may not happen, right? And so, yeah, so we can talk about that.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry, my alarm just went off. So I'm going to make sure that's off. Um, so I start with fail safes and blocks. So fail safes are like booby traps on blocks. If you move a block without checking for fail safes, all garbage can break loose. You don't want to do that. So really quick, fail safes regarding physical health. There's 3. So I'm asking angels to come and remove those from your body. And you can just take a deep breath. And our body processes things with chemical processes through our breath. The lungs create neuropeptides that help move the stuff out of our body, which is brilliant. Okay, and now I'm looking for blocks. I look for first personal blocks. There's 3, and generational. I'm still counting. Hold on. There's 9 generational blocks. And so what I do with that is I actually help you remove those. Like I mostly do most of the work on that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to visualize taking care of those, and you just keep taking deep breaths.
Okay. Do I close my eyes?
You don't have to do it, but if you're comfortable doing it with your eyes closed, do that. Okay. Sometimes people imagine shooting bottles off a fence or like karate chopping through the blocks, and I'm just giving them up to heaven. And there's 11. Let's see. And I process through yawning. I'm not bored or tired. I'm just helping you move the energies. Perfect. Okay. So now we can move forward. Now I look, I'm going to check, is it trapped emotions, contracts, a curse? There's a curse, and it is on your left side, which is your feminine side. Figures. You're not allowing yourself to receive the level of health that you want. So let me figure out where it is. I feel like it might be in your left shoulder, but it's like under, like maybe in the lymph area. Mm-hmm. And you've had it for 11 years there. Okay, well, we're just going to move it. So you can think of your favorite ancestor that's passed or just angels. And I just have them come and lay their hands in the spot. And then I have you imagine it being drawn out like lead to a magnet. Okay. And then it goes in their hands and up to God. And then we always feel when we take stuff out, you always have to fill it with light. Mm-hmm. So nothing yucky gets back in. So I'm just imagining it being filled with light, having it restored to its proper function and its proper structure. I'm getting a thumbs up. Okay. And I don't know how much time you have. Can I do one more thing?
Yeah.
Because we can totally move on. Okay. So that curse, double check, it's gone. Okay. It's saying we need to remove some beliefs. 1, 2. Oh, good. That's fast. So there's 2 beliefs. I'm going to have to write for a second. Sorry. Really quick second. It is, I am unworthy. Oh, I didn't have to write. And I deserve to be uncomfortable.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I don't like the I deserve statements because I've worked through a lot of those in therapy, and it's just every time it's like, okay, yeah, let's get rid of that one.
So it's from your mom's family line. So it's not, you've done good work, but your mom's, I'm seeing all these things like this.
Right.
I'm like, well, we'll help you. We'll help you. So when we clear anything from you, it clears from your ancestors and it clears from your children. So this is why it's important to work on you, the individual. So all I do with these beliefs, you can scramble them up in your mind, you can tap them out, or I'm just going to, because I was a teacher, I just run them through a shredder in my head. Like, okay. Worthy. Shoot. I deserve to be uncomfortable. Shoot. Getting a thumbs up. Good job. And then we're going to tap in. I am worthy. And I do it 3 or more times, but we'll be fast on this and you can do it later. And then I deserve to be comfortable. And I'm even going to add, it is my birthright to be comfortable. Okay. And then you can just place your hand on your heart and breathe those in. Sorry. This
You're
is why
good.
I record stuff. So I'm like just yawning all the time. And then and that will just help clear it. And then I set a timer. It's like a 2-hour session. And so I just work through everything I can within that 2 hours.
Mhm.
I find that that's also why it's so effective, is that I do enjoy feedback because that's very helpful. But while I'm doing the session, I'm like, let's just get it done. Let's get through
Right.
it. And it's a way better bang for your buck that I address, 10 things instead of just one. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's okay. So you mentioned Bradley Nelson. So he is the author of Emotion Code. And
Mhm.
so when I did therapy, my therapist did Emotion Code, and so fascinating because it incorporates, how emotions can get stuck in, and passed on generationally. And which I see is kind of what you're doing here too, so it seems very woo-woo, because and I talked to my family about it, and they're like, yeah, I don't know. But let me tell you,
Yeah.
I had one session that I think I had one emotion stuck, and it had been passed on like 17 generations.
Yeah.
And so we're going through and we're clearing all of this up, and it's one thing's led to another. And it was like so many different, this is unhappy and that's unhappy. And it all went down to one thing, one emotion being passed down. But because it had affected so many other different parts of my body, I had to clear everything out.
Yeah.
By the time I was done, I was yawning, and
Mhm.
I was in the middle of it. I'm like, I am exhausted. And it was just so amazing to me how it physically affected me. And I didn't even connect it until after we were done. And my therapist said, well, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm actually really tired. And she goes, that's totally normal.
Yep.
So fascinating.
And it can be so fast. Like he uses a magnet and you go back
Right.
generations and do all this writing. You don't have to do that. You just give it up to God and let it go out. And because I was talking to Ali Duzette one day and I just said, I can't do any work today. I lost my magnet. And she goes, well, try it without your magnet. And I'm like, oh, that
Oh,
never
and
occurred.
it's like, boom,
Yeah.
what?
And I'm like,
Right.
it just came so easy. Yeah, it's just
Right.
possible. We need physical things to make our brains capture it, right? But you just don't.
Right. Wow. That's so fascinating. So once you finish the download and you've got it all written out, then you send it off to your client. What does your client do with that?
So they'll read through it and be able to process. And then they email with any questions or anything about that. And usually, I just got the best review this week. It just makes my heart so happy. It's like, I can't believe you knew that. I can't believe. And, I'm like, I didn't, but God did. And I
Yeah.
just happened to ask the question for you. And it's just my favorite. And then they usually book again. But with this
Right.
program, with the 3 months, I feel like it'll be really successful for them. I do also offer a 3 package of these personal written sessions. Um,
Mhm.
if you don't want to do the full program, which is fine, because it's just awesome to see people heal and like believe that it's possible.
Right. So can you share some of your healing stories?
Yes. One of my favorites was one of my first, she was one of my first clients, when I was charging nothing because I wasn't sure I was any good. And she came to me and we did a house clearing and she was like, I can't believe you described my boot room. I didn't know it was a boot room. And I'm like, oh, good. That's great. And go me. And and so she booked again for a personal session and she didn't tell me everything was wrong. She just said, I'm struggling health wise and I just need some help. I wish she had told me what she was struggling with because then I could have honed in on it and done a deeper job. But
Right.
what came up were she had a bunch of energetic weapons, which is again like targeted negative energy, like
Mhm.
knife in the back. There's probably literally an energetic knife in the back, sort of a thing. And I removed like 5 or 6 of them from her energy field. And she wrote me, she didn't respond. So I'm like, oh, I did something wrong. But it was like 8 weeks later, she's like, I just had to make sure it really worked. You got rid of my panic night terrors, like where
No
she
way.
got paralyzed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that's what you needed. But
That's huge.
It was huge. It was
That's so
mind-blowing.
huge.
Yeah. She goes, I've been going to doctors for 8 years and nobody could help me with that. And I said, well, God can. And he did. It was awesome. That was my very favorite because I'm like, I can do this.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, I got to share with you an experience that I had. So I lost a bunch of weight, and immediately after I lost this weight, I had a herniated disc, got a herniated disc. And I was like, what the heck? Because you would think after losing all of
That
that
hurts.
weight that
Yeah.
I wouldn't have any issues, right? Like my health would get better, and it actually got worse. And I was literally on my back for much of last year. So this all happened last year in just intense pain. And it got worse and worse and worse throughout the year. And I got severe sciatic to the point where my foot went numb. I could feel my nerve all the way down my right leg. And just so frustrating. It was just like, oh, I don't have time for this, right? I just need to be well. And this shouldn't be how it is when I lose weight, right? And so I decided one day I'm just gonna write a letter to my back, right? And I've tried different things like this, and really, if you get into that mode of I just need some answers, and especially if you start writing it out. So, I've had that experience too, where it just starts flowing, right? And so I thought, well, I'm just gonna write a letter to my back and just see what's going on. Like, how's my back? How is that disc feeling? Right? What's going on with that disc? And it was so interesting because I just was very upset. Like, how dare you? You're ruining my life, yada, yada. And then I just was silent. And I when I do this, I write in one color, my own thoughts, and then the response is in a different color. And so I pick up my other pen and I just start writing, hey, you had some emotions stuck in you, and I gathered them all for you, and they're all negative emotions, and I'm trying my very best to hold it all together. I need some help. And then I took that to my therapist. I said, okay, we need to work on this. And it was amazing because through the therapy and through my own work at home, like I don't have back problems anymore.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. We all have this power.
Yeah.
The only reason people come to me is because they don't have it yet. They haven't established it, or they don't want to, which is fine. But we're all spiritual beings and we all have this connection. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so
It's
amazing.
incredible.
What's that?
You're incredible. That's incredible.
Thank you. You are too.
Yeah.
But it's, when you have experiences like that, because it's real, it's whether you believe in a higher power or a higher self or whatever, there is something energetically that goes on. And, we're so connected spiritually and mentally and emotionally and physically that you can't work on one thing and have it not affect the other. It just is not possible. So that's awesome. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. So what do you find are like the most common issues that people have? I'm just curious if you see like a common denominator on things.
The common denominator is kind of like your podcast. It's all middle-aged women looking for help, relief. Because if there's something that's illness, disease, which we call dis-ease, you're uncomfortable, or something showing up physically, there's an energetic side that needs to be addressed. So I don't have a medical degree. I can't tell you exactly what to do. But when we work on the energetic side, it heals that side, which then can in turn heal the physical body. So like you said, you have to work them together. So if you've been doing the physical side all this time, you might want to check on your energetic side.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Love it. Love it. Do you have, like, okay, so here's where we get to the purpose side of it. I feel like you have, and it's so interesting. I talk to people all the time on my podcast, and I let them tell their story. I'm like, well, it's clear what your purpose is. But I still like to have my guests say it. So tell me, what do you feel like your purpose is right now? And how do you personally live it every day?
Oh, I love that question. I feel like I am filling the measure of my creation. Like my children, my family, highest thing. And now this is my spiritual gift. This is my calling. And I am honored to carry it because this is like the best thing I could ever do. It's my favorite. It's kind of like, it's silly and childish, but you know, those things that you used to do this and like, I don't,
Yeah,
I
the
don't tell the
force, that's right.
future.
Yeah.
I can see things that other people can't see and they get so excited and they get so happy with the results. It's just like such a huge payday for me. And it just fills me with so much joy. I just want people to heal. I want them to know it can be easy. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be painful. And some of it will be, but it doesn't have to be. You know, that's all swallowed up in God or the universe.
Right.
You can
Right.
find it now. And that's just my favorite thing to share with people.
I love that. And just for the people who are listening and not watching, what we were talking about there was the where you fold the paper up and you've got four
Sorry.
quadrants and you put your fingers in it and you open it one way and then you open it the other way and you're just flipping it open, right? And you're just
Yeah.
right.
Under there. Yep.
I love that so much. I love it, love it. Okay, so how does your work then bring more meaning to you?
To me,
Yeah.
it just makes me feel like I'm 100% on the right path. Like it's so fulfilling to be able to see people who were just where I was and are starting to come out and seeing their surprise. It's got to be how God feels when we finally decide, like, I'm going to rock this. I'm going to start living. I'm going to start finding joy. We are that we might have joy. Hey, and he's probably like, finally, yeah.
Right.
And it brings me joy. So he's probably like, finally, Emily, good job. See, you didn't want to die.
I feel like it's what you do is just a connection with God, right? So your own higher power. So I love how you seek to tap into that on a daily basis. So do you have any nuggets of wisdom that you'd like to share with us?
Pay attention to your thoughts. Your thoughts are where inspiration come or where the human voice comes in or the adversary, where they're negative thoughts. If you're feeding and listening to the negative thoughts and beating yourself up over and over again, you're going to beat yourself up into depression, into anxiety, into unhappiness. When you feel those, cut them off and say, shut up. I am fine. I am divine. I have gifts. I have purpose. The other thing I would say is pay attention to the good thoughts, because that is how we commune with spirit, is through our minds and our hearts. And so if you wanted to channel a loved one or angels, you just think of them and ask a question in your mind and see what comes. And they're generally talking to you through that space. And so we have this abstract thought of, there's a veil. I can't see anything behind that. It's not for me. And that's just false. We're supposed to be able to combine our physical bodies with our spiritual bodies. And that's how we progress. When we cut off half of that, like the energetic and the physical, it doesn't work so well. And we're all wonky. So it's the same with this. When we connect with our higher power, when we ask for inspiration and direction, when we ask for resources to come into us, we're giving them permission to come in and share that information with us. So do it.
I love that. Okay, so if you can give permission to goodness to come in, do you find that a lot of what we experience negatively is allowing the negative energies in?
Yeah. And sometimes it's all inadvertent, right? Because you can go to a grocery store and pick up a yucky feeling or a yucky spirit because you're just not aware of it. And it's matching your vibration because you just stepped in gum and now you're mad. It just matches the vibration. So, just doing kind of a general cleansing and just saying, please just let anything that's not for me go and fill me with light. And that can be very helpful.
Okay, so you just said something that really piqued my interest. You said it matched my vibration. So can you explain that a little bit more?
I can try. I don't know if I'm going to be good, but yeah, anything that's with us is because we match a vibration. So even like demons, even disembodied spirits, which are just spirits that didn't know how to cross over and are stuck here until they figure it out. It can also be, we can attract the targeted negative energy and stuff like that. because of our vibration. So when I was at my worst, there was like no vibration. I was basically emotionally dead. And so I had demons attached to me that fed me like, why don't you drive into the medium? It would just be easier, really horrible thoughts that were not from my heart or my mind or me. And once I started raising that vibration, things became clear and I needed help. I had to have help. So I worked very closely with Ali Dizette for a couple of personal sessions. I did a ton of her group session work, which is why I do kind of the similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a ton of help because I needed a ton of help to raise my vibration high enough to believe that I could actually do this work and share it with others. And so if something's like when I do house clearings, if something's off in the home, generally it needs to be cleared and you raise the vibration back up. So if there's pornography in a home, if there's violent television in a home, if there's inappropriate anything that you would consider inappropriate in the home, like pot, or if you would consider that bad, in a home, it lowers the vibration and it allows spirits into your home that you don't want in your home. And so you can kind of tell. And it's hard to keep track of it and you have to keep clearing because devices, they come in commercials, they come in through game advertisements, and it's like, oh my gosh. But because you were on that, it was kind of a permission to come in. And so I'm getting off track, but yeah.
No, I asked. So that is super interesting. So it's just super important to raise the vibration. What is the best way to raise your vibration?
The fastest way is to drink water.
Really? That is not what I expect you to say.
That is my personal opinion, but our bodies are so overly dehydrated. I love caffeine. I love Dr. Pepper. I don't drink it very often anymore, but I lived off of Dr. Pepper, and it completely dehydrates you, depletes you of calcium in your bones, and you can't function if you're dehydrated. Like everything's a chore, everything's hard, and you need another hit, right? So water, lots and lots of water with some electrolytes like pink Himalayan salt. Like,
that's interesting.
Much water.
I love that. Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. This has been just an amazing conversation. And I hope our audience doesn't feel like it's over the top woo-woo, but I admit that it is a little bit, right?
It's absolutely unbelievable. And I can't even believe how good my life is. And so I'm not afraid to share it. But it is so woo-woo. Yes.
It is. Let's just admit it, right? Yeah. But there is something to it. I've experienced it myself, and right, absolutely. All right, Emily, you have an offer that you'd like to give our listeners and viewers. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I have created a session calling Combating Imposter Syndrome and Healing the Gut. And as you know, our American diet isn't super great for the gut. And we're seeing that a lot in autoimmune disorders and in digestive issues. And it was interesting that I found this correlation with imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts and skill. So I feel like we gaslight ourselves all the time out of humility, like, no, I'm not that great. Right. We're pretty great. So this session is going to be really great. If you type in BU, like the podcast, BEYOU, it doesn't matter caps or lowercase, it'll still work. That'll give you $28 off that session. So I hope you check it out.
Fantastic. And it's normally $35. So it'll be a total of $15 then.
Yes.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much, Emily. If people want to learn more about you, you already said that your website is emily.m.stovall.com. Can they find you anywhere else?
Yes, I am on Facebook at Reclaiming Your Intuition with Emily Stovall. And I also have just my personal page, and that's where I am mostly. That's the old lady group. So that's where I fit in.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. I will be sure to put all of that information and the links in our show notes. Are you okay if I put that coupon code in there as well? Perfect. So that will be there as well. And so go ahead and look at that and try Emily out, because it does seem a little bit different, but it is absolutely amazing what she can do. And so I highly encourage that. And Emily, thank you so much again for taking the time out of your day to chat with me. It has really been enlightening. I kind of feel like we're soul sisters. Like I just want to just be with you all the time, So
I
I
don't.
really
This is my first podcast, and you're the only one I was comfortable with. So thank you for the invitation because I just love you.
Well, you did fantastic. Thanks so much, Emily. And for everybody else who is watching and listening, thank you so much for sticking with us. And we encourage you to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it. And always remember that your purpose is in your story. Take care until next time.